Welcome back to the channel, and in this video, 7 easy ways to reduce or avoid ID theft and credit card fraud. Hopefully, you've never had your financial world turned upside down by identity theft. And in this video, I'm going to share with you some easy ways that you can maybe reduce and possibly even avoid ID theft. So let's get right into it with number 1, and that is to look over your financial documents and shred any unused documents, papers that you don't need anymore. They're old, outdated, old tax papers, old bank statements. You're gonna wanna look through that because a lot of those documents do contain partial or even full social security numbers and account numbers. And that's information that people can use to do bad things with your credit. So definitely look into either shredding it yourself or taking it somewhere to get it professionally shredded and discarded properly. Number 2, avoid revealing your financial data in public. Now, this can be something as easy as being extra careful when utilizing ATMs. A lot of people already know to cover up that area of the keypad when you're entering in your PIN, your passcode, or even account numbers, but you should also exercise caution and still cover things up when there's nobody around you, because somebody could be viewing you from a distance, maybe zooming in with a camera, or there could even be a hidden camera placed somewhere in the room, and someone could later on retrieve that footage and see exactly what you were typing. So just use caution at ATMs, regardless of whether there's someone next to you or you think there's no one around you. Also, for some reason, people tend to let their guard down a little bit more when they're using these credit cards and debit cards at a store. So when you're at a store, keying in your information at the cashier's kiosk there, entering your PIN, be careful because there's a possibility that some of the people that are already around you could also be trying to see what you're typing in. So just use caution there too, at the stores and at ATMs. Always cover your financial information. Try to avoid revealing that in public. And by the way, be very careful about unintentionally revealing sensitive information on the giant popular social media platforms. You'd be surprised how many scam artists actually utilize places, including but not limited to Facebook, Instagram, etc., to collect personal identifiable information on people that can later be used to do some type of ID theft. So just use your judgment and be very careful. Also, it's not something as obvious as sharing your social security number or account number. Most people know not to do that, but it could be something as innocent as sharing your date of birth, your birthday, your mom's name, your mom's maiden name, your dog's name, the color of your car, the school that you went to. All of these things can potentially be security questions to a bank or a lender, and that could be used by somebody that is trying to harm you to maybe gain access to your accounts or do some type of ID theft. So use your best judgment and be careful about revealing your personal information on social media platforms. All of them could be a potential source of a breach. Number 3, minimize unnecessary applications for credit. And this could be something as simple as when you go car shopping, you don't need to go to 20 different car dealerships and also simultaneously apply 20 different times for a loan. That's unnecessary, and you are increasing the chances that your financial data could be mishandled unintentionally or accidentally. You never know who's on the other side and how strictly they're following their company's privacy policies. The same thing goes with banks. I know that some type of more complex loan products, such as mortgages, do require that you apply and more fully commit to the process before moving forward. But you gotta use your common sense. There's not really a need to apply 20 different times. Pick a few lenders, a few banks that you trust, and move forward there and see if you can do the research in advance of applying as much as possible. And then when you have to apply because you have no choice, then submit your information. But avoid making numerous applications for credit, it just increases the chances of something going wrong, getting lost, your data going out there into the world. You just never know who's on the other side and who could potentially not be following privacy policies of these companies and banks the way they should. So just be careful. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't think you should shop around for credit and good interest rates and stuff like that, but just be careful. Try to do your research before you actually are handing out your social security number and your account numbers. You don't need to do that every single time. You could do a lot of good research and try to identify the lender that has the terms that are most beneficial to you without having to go through the entire application process every single time. Try to pick a few lenders, a few sources of credit, stick with that. Just remember, every time you get credit applications in your hand and you give it to somebody else, that is a potential source of a problem later on if that information is mishandled, is misplaced. You never know who's looking at that information, what their intentions are, and again, it could be an accident. You don't know how careful they're going to be with your information, and you just want to avoid the odds of your information just being in 20 different places all at once. Try to make it so that you only apply when necessary. Number 4, do not respond to personal information requests by email, text messages, or even the phone. You'd be surprised how many scam artists are actually successful in getting people to voluntarily provide sensitive information just by asking for it. A lot of banks and lenders make it their own policy not to ask for that information through those means. So I would make it your own personal policy, just my opinion. Whenever you get those kind of requests, assume it's a scam and don't respond. Don't ever give out or reveal any kind of personal information. And if you're just not sure and you want to check the legitimacy of that request, I would just reach out to your bank or creditor directly and see what's going on. But be very careful. Number 5, avoid using your credit card in unfamiliar, questionable places or unsecure environments. You just never know. Some of these out of the way, remote gas stations and convenience stores may have a convenient ATM right there waiting for you, but you just don't know how some of these smaller places calibrate their equipment, who put it there, if their intentions were good or bad. Better to be safe than sorry. I would say use your judgment. If you're not sure and you're not comfortable, use your judgment there and don't use that ATM. Sometimes when you're at a restaurant that you've never been to before and you hand over your credit card, that's also leaving you vulnerable to some type of breach, because you don't know when they take that card, walk away from you. You never know what's going to happen with that information. They could take a picture with their phone or whatever. You never know. And don't think that this can happen only in underserved certain areas. It could happen in affluent areas. It could happen anywhere. If you're not comfortable, use your judgment. Just don't automatically use an ATM or hand out your credit card any place you go. Be very selective when you do that. Number 6, carefully review your statements, such as bank statements, credit card, and loan statements, to identify any type of potentially suspicious or fraudulent activity. A lot of scam artists will conduct small-scale fraud in smaller amounts to kind of fly under the radar in case you're not paying attention, and also they don't want to alert the banks or the credit card companies of any type of fraud. So every little amount of fraud adds up, and it could be an indication of something big that's going to happen. So you're definitely going to want to look at your bank statements, pay attention, and make sure that anything that you are suspicious of gets reported to the bank, or that you at least research yourself to make sure that it is legitimate. And number 7, if you actually get notified from a bank or some type of creditor like a store or a credit card company that there has been a data breach, you should take immediate corrective action or do whatever it is that you think is financially prudent. Be careful. Don't fall for the scams though. Make sure that it's not a scam and asking you to maybe open up a new account by giving personal information. Don't fall for that, but at least look into it, reach out to that particular company directly to find out if the breach is legitimate and what steps you should take. With that said, Hope you got something out of this video. Until the next one, stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video.